has certainly been productive in our evolution as a species many, many times. But it also has times when it's not productive. And remember that the part of the brain that houses trauma is separate from the part that understands time. So we carry our, imprints of dysregulation and trauma with us as if they're ever present, and hence a habitualization of the nervous system into a constant state of feeling like we are unsafe, even if our present circumstances don't warrant that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so let's see. I'm not super tech savvy here. I'm not sure.
On an iPad, it's at the top. On a computer screen, it's at the bottom, a little green something
Oh,
that
here we
says
go.
share screen.
Okay, are you guys seeing my screen now?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, did that work?
Yeah.
Yay.
Yes.
All right. Okay, so I know one of the things that Dr. Vrchota really asked me to talk about and that I feel passionate about is how and why the body slows our internal movements, which lead ultimately to these feelings of stagnation and the experience of chronic inflammation, and how and why the body stores trauma. And those are very linked, but we'll just make our way gently through it, and feel free to interrupt me at any time. So the body operates, it has this really amazing inner knowing that I call prioritization and triage. And so when our resources are depleted, when our internal terrain is depleted, when we can't assimilate and cook down and make steam and nourish ourselves and keep the flow going, we move into a state of protection. And this state of protection, just like health through the Asian medicine lens, is movement and fluidity. The state of protection automatically slows down this internal movement. And the body certainly will not naturally and organically reinitiate its natural process of internal movement until it can sense that we are resourced enough to do that. Because even if our resources aren't great and aren't ideal, the body will begin to hoard the resources that it does already have to keep us alive, to protect the organs. And so a lot of the armoring is about energy conservation and survival. These are productive strategies in many situations, but not always. And so when we say resourcing ourselves, when our resources are depleted, what does that mean? And through my lens and the way that I think about it, resourcing ourselves physically means having the adequate and nourishing input of food and hydration so that we can begin, as we repair our gut, to have enough concentrated nutrition to make good blood again, enough breath so that we can sort of spread out that, nourish ourselves with oxygen, and the process of breathing also works to spread moisture and fluids through the system. Nourishing ourselves with blood, nourishing ourselves with fluid, nourishing ourselves with community and knowing that we matter, nourishing ourselves with sleep. So when I say resources and internal terrain, I'm not necessarily just talking about, vitamin and mineral content per se. I'm talking about self-cultivation practices. In Asian medicine, we call these self-cultivation practices yin. Yin is the blood and the physicality of our being and nervous system. So if our resources are depleted, we move into this state of protection and our internal flow begins to slow. And that creates the catch-22 that we find ourselves in, that we feel both depleted and stuck. There's one other way that the body moves into a state of protection, and that is when something happens, say it's an accident or a trauma, or it doesn't even have to be a big deal. Maybe we had a conversation that was triggering for us with somebody, and whatever we're experiencing physically or emotionally in that moment is more than we can handle or process in that moment. Right? I think this is a universal experience that we have all experienced physical challenges or emotional challenges that are too much to process all in one moment or one chunk of time. And in service to us, the body then takes that physical or emotional challenge, we'll say, and it creates a latency. So it basically packs it away, it somaticizes it and packs it away in the body so that we can carry on and function and come back and process it later. Although we know that often we don't come back and process it later, and we begin to build up these latencies in our body. And
So Megan, excuse me a minute, because I think about half of the people here are not medically
yeah,
trained, that they're people struggling.
yeah.
So can you say what you mean by our body packages it and somaticizes it? What would that look like
Yep.
in a human experience?
Yep, we're getting there. So when we
Okay.
somaticize something, we take the energetics of whatever it is that we're experiencing, whether that be a physical injury that's too much to process, so pain or hard emotions, and we energetically store them in the body. So we kind of take the energetics of that and let's sort of say, for illustration, we put it in a Tupperware container and we put a lid on it, and maybe we pack it into the pelvis, or we often will put them in our large joints. So when the body has a natural intelligence to protect us, and so it will take a hard experience that we can't process, and it will become a rheumatism, or it will become fibroids, or it will become varicosities. We often will store things in our orifices. So, there's some understanding now through people who are studying the nervous system and neuroscience, that as we hold pathology, and in pathology in Asian medicine, we just mean dysregulation in our sense organs, we will actually subconsciously diminish our sense organs to protect ourselves from being overwhelmed. Everything we're talking about right now is a way that the body protects us from feeling overwhelmed and doing more than we can in the moment. So, for example, you might have a chronic earwax that impacts your ear so you can't hear as well, or chronic sinus and nasal obstruction. We begin to try and mute our sense organs so that we don't feel so overwhelmed by sensory input.
Yeah, that helped a lot. Thank you.
Yeah. So this is, many of you, even who do have medical backgrounds and complementary medical backgrounds, this where we just went with latencies is new for a lot of people in a way to think about how we deal with dysregulation. So I just want to pause for a minute and see if anybody else has any questions. I can't see everybody, so just speak up if you are looking for clarification. Okay. Should we proceed on maybe?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay. So as we move into a state of protection, either because our resources are depleted or because the system feels overwhelmed in the moment, and we need to create latency and push it off to the side for a while so we can keep going. The more important point here is that we certainly have the capacity to resource ourselves enough that the body will sense that we are ready to release some of those and begin flowing again and detoxing again and cultivating ourselves again. And so we have often spent much of our lives looking for our sense of regulation outside of ourselves and imposing things on our body in the name of health and well-being without really tuning in and having a relationship with whether they help us, whether they help you. And when we look at the garden model, the wellness model, where we cultivate our internal terrain, we are then cultivating regulation from the inside out. And the body will begin to release latent pathologies and restore internal flow when it senses that we're resourced. And again, I'm talking about nutrition and hydration, which create good blood, and sleep and rest and connection and feelings of safety. So these are physical ways that we can cultivate ourselves. And now we're also talking about cues of safety for our mental and emotional body, so for the nervous system.
Can I ask if
Yeah.
we, in the Lyme community, we often say that when we take an effective therapy, we get worse or we hurts for a while. Would this, what you're talking about, be like as we're getting ready to release something that and our symptoms get worse? That would be what release of latency would be about?
Yeah, so remember that symptoms are often the body either housing something or releasing something. And so both of those are in service to us. So let's take a rheumatism, for example. When the body senses that we can't handle everything that's going on, something from our present, something from our past, a physical injury, and we pack it into a joint, even though it feels really uncomfortable, we can live with an inflamed joint in honor of protecting our organs. So it's uncomfortable, but the body is doing it to protect us. And then likewise, when we resource ourselves enough that we can begin to release some of those latencies, we call those inflammatory processes, really, and allow some detox, some movement to happen again. Yeah, there is a phase often where we have symptoms because we are releasing. And there are certainly ways to work with that. Yeah. Yeah, thank you for clarifying that. So as we begin to work with gemmotherapy, which are the plant stem cell extracts, I think some of you are familiar with those through Dr. Vrchota already. I want to take a moment and remind all of us that each of our nervous systems has a way that we naturally scan our internal and external environment for cues of safety and danger. And the word for that is interoception. So our nervous system is deeply habitualized based on our past experiences and our present experiences and our internal monologues and all of the things that we take in and digest. That's not just food and fluid. We digest our thoughts and emotions and our memories and all of that. And those create a unique nervous system to each of us. And so as we talk about the extracts, we can certainly talk about how generally they will impact and engage with your nervous system, but it's important for you to trust yourself and your experience of gemmotherapy extracts if you decide that they might be something that you want to employ. And Dr. Vrchota is very versed in gemmotherapy. Isabel Frankel is an excellent gemmotherapist. I am a gemmotherapist. So please feel free to reach out and work with any of us to answer questions if this is something that you'd like to find out more about. So again, I am very passionate about the use of gentle acupuncture and body work. Doesn't have to be the way that we normally think about it. It can just be holding space and stabilizing the body. But if that's not something that resonates for you, Qigong is an equally effective self-cultivation technique where you learn to use your breath and gentle movement and to cultivate your internal resources that way, and also to improve your internal flow and the movement of qi. You begin to be an active participant in cultivating and moving your own qi. Really, really dynamite. And there's lots of online Qigong classes these days. I think
Would yoga be in that category also?
Yeah, I think so. I think yoga, often in the way that we practice it in this country, is a little bit more physical. So when your mobility is more compromised, sometimes yoga can be a little bit more of a challenge, but there are certainly modifications and gentle yoga classes and chair yoga classes that incorporate gentle movement and breath. But there's not quite as much intent and empowerment in yoga on learning how to move your own qi the way that it's openly talked about in Qigong. So both great, similar but different. Yeah, so acupuncture and Qigong, if you have any questions about those, after we talk about gemmotherapy, we'll pause and just have an open discussion. Again, gemmotherapy it's unique from other forms of plant medicine because it is made from the embryonic tissue. When a bud is created in the springtime, that's harvested. It has all of the concentrated vitality of the tree or shrub, and we create an extract from that. And so we are literally nourishing ourselves with the stem cells of plants and trees. And one of the things that I was so drawn to about this is I love the simplicity of it, that there's only one ingredient in an extract. I love that it comes from the natural world because I really do believe that often the remedies for things that we have are available to us, that the earth gave them to us, and we just need to learn more about them. They're affordable, but I really love the way that a tree holds itself, right? So it's deeply rooted often. It is very sturdy and solid in its trunk, and yet it has this ability to move with the wind and with the natural resources in its environment and also be flexible. And who doesn't want to embody all of those characteristics? I believe that I certainly do, and they're characteristics that lead to resilience and well-being. And so I want to introduce just 3 basic extracts, and then we'll pause. These are 3 extracts that interact with the nervous system. And we're talking about even as little as 1 drop, certainly no more than 3 when we're engaging with the nervous system and facilitating our regulation and sense of safety. So walnut is the first extract here. My explanation of walnut through the Asian medicine lens, from what I know from studying gemmotherapy, is that we know that walnut has a very close relationship to the gut and to the mucosal linings in the body and to the skin. And so if we stop and think about that, we know that the sensory orifices and the gut and the skin and all the places where our body opens to the external environment are lined in moisture, have mucosal membranes. And we need nice, clear, thin fluids to cover those and act both as a protective barrier from the environment and as a way to receive input from the environment. And so walnut, it does great things for the skin in higher doses. It does great things for the gut. But when we're talking about the nervous system, we're talking about when sensory input feels overwhelming or confusing. Walnut has a beautiful capacity to just help us process what's coming in, to help us digest what we're receiving from the environment. The next one is called dog rose. Lots of people call it briar rose also in the gemmotherapy world. And this has a very gentle essence to it. And we say it's gentle strength to carry on. One of the reasons I love dog rose is because it is used a lot in pediatrics. It nourishes and is gentle enough to strengthen us without being pushy, just to offer some soothing strength. And the third one that I chose because I feel like it's relevant often with people who have been dealing with chronic illness and the intense emotional dysregulation that can come from experiencing not feeling well for days, months, and years at a time is field maple. Field maple in a higher dose is an excellent antiviral. It's used a lot in chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia type situations. But it's beautiful for soothing a nervous system that is anchored down. If your diaphragm feels tight and you feel armored and you can't let go, often you'll notice tightness in the flanks and your side body. And there's this internal gripping or sort of like internal irritability and angst that you just can't shake.
Well, that's beautiful, Maegan. I think in my practice, I often see, sorry. I'm just going to put it in silent. That many people suffering from Lyme disease just isolate themselves. And the more we isolate ourselves, then the more isolated we feel and disconnected. And I was in that state. Like I felt like I couldn't be a physician anymore. I couldn't be of help to anybody. The only people that reached out to me is people that wanted my medical knowledge, and I didn't have any energy to do that anymore. And just taking the walnut, for me, it was 5 drops because I needed both the high dose and the low dose things. I stopped isolating. I started, connecting to people in really big ways. So I think that if when you're under stress, you feel like isolating, the walnuts seem to be helpful. And then there's other people that are just so fragile that are gripping out, like, somebody help me, please, please, like they feel just frantic. And dog rose seems to be more helpful when people are in that state.
Yeah, beautifully said. Beautifully said. Yeah. I think that also the desire to isolate is understandable when we are in an intense energy conservation mode. We want to isolate because being around other people or out in the world, it's a lot of input. And when we're using all of our internal resources just to be, there's not a lot left over. Yeah.
Yeah, it's exhausting, and it helped to move beyond that.
Mm.
Black poplar, I just wanted to mention, as something that helps me move about in the world because it helps me not get COVID. If I get COVID, I'm down for another long period of time. And black poplar seems to just protect against viral infections.
I mean, Isabel, you might want to jump in, but I mean, black poplar is certainly one of my most recommended and most used extracts in my house as well.
Yeah, and I was going to say too, with black poplar and sometimes with oak, right, and black currant, they're really good in terms of calming down the nervous system, which again goes to what you said, Megan, about allowing the body to tap into the immune system. I wanted to say something about the field maple because you mentioned field maple was for in full dose for chronic fatigue, which I take for that in the evening. That's my evening gemmo. And what I love about field maple, it's so gentle. It helps with sleep and also helps with the chronic fatigue symptoms. And it's one of those gemmos you could take forever because some of them you want to take short term versus long term, but field maple is one of those that you can go on and on with. So yeah, a big vote for field maple.
You're muted, Megan.
Thank you. The extracts that we're just touching on here, it's, maybe a top 5 or 6 extracts that you really can't go wrong with. Gemmotherapy extracts in general were originally categorized, and many people talk about them still, as drainage extracts. And so some of them are a little bit more impactful or a little bit more pushy in their drainage capacities. And so we are bringing up extracts that are not pushy because when we are in an energy conservation place and we're not flowing very well, if we take an extract that tries to clear us out and drain, and we can't, we don't have the capacity to do that in that moment, we can sort of see, a little bit of the body, it's like this bumping up that can happen where we don't have our pathways for elimination and detox aren't open yet, but the body's trying to do that. And so sticking with really gentle extracts at the beginning while you resource yourself and begin that cultivation process is really key.
And can I maybe summarize what you said, that when we get these infections, we go into a state of protection, sympathetic fight or flight or freeze, instead of the vagus nerve, which is rest, digest, and kill a pest. And we can use these 3 gemmos that you talked about to facilitate, to make our calm autonomic nervous system work better, and that would open us to healing from many pathways. And some are taking antibiotics, antibiotic herbs, acupuncture, traditional Chinese herbs, but these remedies taken in low doses once a day, 5 to 6 days a week, not 7, would just help everything else work better. Is that a good summary?
Yeah, a gemmotherapy can be an adjunct to many, many things. When I first started studying with Lauren, and Isabel and I were a part of a group that was talking about cases and such, almost everybody in that group was a homeopath. And it was mostly homeopaths originally that were using gemmotherapy as an adjunct to the remedies. And I certainly use gemmotherapy as an adjunct to my acupuncture. When I create a protocol, sometimes I'll put Chinese herbs in also. It's a beautiful adjunct to whatever it is you're already taking or you're already doing, your self-care practice.
And I'll just say that I have a tendency to overdo. So I read about this, I read about that. Before you know it, I was taking, I don't know, 12 remedies throughout the day, 3 of this and 3 of that. And then I was getting up to pee every hour at night. And uh, you said, how many drops you're taking? Stop everything. Only go back to 3 little tiny doses, because more is not better in the gemmotherapy world.
Yeah, remember that we're sending a message, you know, when I place a needle in acupuncture, or we take a gemmotherapy extract, it's not some abstract thing. We are in real-time communication with the body and mind. And so it's a conversation. And so, you know, we want the messages to be well chosen and to be clear. And so, especially in somebody who's in a protective state, who's feeling easily overwhelmed, too much of a good thing can be really dysregulating.
And even only 1 drop can be powerful of this. For those of us that have spent much of our savings in our life on remedies or treatments, I think gemmotherapy, like if you're taking 1 drop of walnut, it might last you 5-7 months. They can be very cost effective, $20 a bottle.
Yeah, and I've not met a form of plant therapy. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I like to buy them from laurenhubele.com, LaurenHubele.com.
Yeah.
And maybe somebody could put that in the chat thread, because they're very potent and reliable. And some people that talk about gemmotherapy talk about 25 to 50 drops. And I think that's a different dilution that they're talking about. Right, Megan? That there's a whole bunch of people talking about gemmotherapy that are talking that there's a different way of making the remedies.
Well, can you hear me?
The drops. Yes.
Okay, so talking about 25 or 50 drops is the way that many people used to practice gemmotherapy, and it's a more allopathic way of practicing. You're really looking more at just the physical body and trying to force the elimination pathways open to drain. And we are now talking about starting with the nervous system and sending cues of safety to the body and not being pushy, and cultivating and allowing the system to begin moving again instead of forcing it.
Great.
So the work I do, some of my work is trauma work, somatic emotional release, and I do energy work and healing touch, and just really help people to embody. It seems to me that this would be such a beautiful integration, and to help people gently come into the experience that they're ready to release.
Yes, exactly. I think we can often, clients can dance right on, as we all can, dance right on the edge of believing that it's possible and wanting to step out and wanting to start the process of rehabitualizing and coming back into our bodies and experiencing ourself in a safer way than maybe we ever have in the past. But there's always trepidation because our nervous system only knows our past experiences.
Right.
Yeah.
And when I learned about gemmotherapy, I wanted to know, what's the one that can fix Lyme disease? And there's not an answer for that, right? There's like, that was the wrong question. It was like, how can my body get ready to heal deeply?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, beautifully said.
But there are gemmos that have antimicrobial effects and that are being used like that.
Quite a few. Yeah. And as if this is something that you begin with and you begin to work with the nervous system, And then when you feel ready, you begin to work with the elimination system. And then there are stages of healing. And ultimately, you can sort of specialize and look at gemmos that do particular things like that. But just important that we work in the time that our body is setting, not that we are imposing on our bodies.
So there's some gemmotherapies that everybody could, see which one they resonate with and start trying on their own safely. But for people with complex illness that's been disabling for years and years, they would probably be best served by working with an experienced gemmotherapist. Is that correct?
Yes, I think that anytime there's a complicated or complex pattern that doesn't really fall in the bell curve, as many things don't, I think it's really important that you will get the most out of the gemmotherapy extracts if you have somebody guiding you, that you can describe your experience and kind of tweak the dosing, or help you recognize when maybe it's time to pivot to a different extract. The relationship and communication in the process is important, as it is in a lot of modalities.
And since I think we learn a lot from mistakes made, another mistake I made is I tend to push myself. When I pushed myself through medical school, there was a lot of caffeine and sugar. I always ran. As I got more and more diseases like colon cancer and breast cancer, autoimmune, my daily habit stack, the things I had to do to stay well, grew. And I think gemmos have a label like energizes, revitalizes. I wanted to do all that. I was taking all the ones that like push. And then I called you and I hadn't slept in like 3 months, maybe 2 hours. And you said, maybe time to back off those tonics. So there's some are labeled tonics and some are labeled as harmonizers.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
when we want to push ourselves, make ourselves get up and go because we perceive like there's an emergency that will not be able to get by without us attending to it, you can only push yourself so far, really.
Mhm.
And then it's going to backfire.
Yeah.
Because if you don't sleep, you're not going to be refreshed and nothing can work.
Yeah, and as we do the nervous system work, and we, I think many of us, I know this is true for me, spent the majority of my life living in my head and imposing what I read or what worked for somebody else, imposing that on myself in the name of health and well-being, opposed to really pausing and getting some feedback from my own body. And so I think the commitment, no matter what modality you're using for your healing, I think the commitment to have a relationship with yourself such that you trust your own experience is ultimately really imperative in the healing process. And gemmos can help that. A lot of us haven't learned to trust ourselves or other people.
So for example, you would decide to start something and then journal, I think I'm feeling calmer.
Yep. Yeah.
Or let's say, I don't feel anything different except for I'm calling people on the phone every day and I never used to do that.
Exactly. Yeah. Healing comes in lots of ways. Sometimes, a memory will come up, but it evokes a different emotion than it ever has in the past. Or sometimes you find yourself wanting to communicate with somebody you haven't talked to in a long time, or, it's a full system experience.
Great.
I
Ready for questions from the group?
Sure.
had a very recent gemmo experience with a I had a grade 2 rectus abdominis tear, so proximal and distal. That's like maybe 2.5 weeks ago. So I have a series of gemmos that Karen, you, I think, told me maybe 3 years ago. And so I'm just intuitively like, okay, what is it that I need? And I had great result from white willow, just 3 drops in 3 days, and my adrenals were back. It was like astonishing. But I hardly have any more pain. I am doing a little oak, white willow. Maybe I did a couple drops of redwood, but not a lot, and just consistently. But I feel amazing, and this is a 2-month heal, and I'm almost better.
Lovely. Yeah, I think willow is another beautiful example of a nervous system extract. You know, if you think about a willow tree, right, and the really like delicate standing underneath of a willow tree sort of creates that like real gentle feeling of cocoon and protection and softening. Kind of down regulates a lot of, I have several people who like to take it when they get home after work to help with the transition of, is that how you like to take it? From busyness into that quieter time. I think willow's a real safe one to explore. I think both oak and redwood, those are both tonics, and there's a beautiful place for those, and it sounds like they're really working well for you. It's not something that if you didn't have any experience or relationship with Dr. Vrchota that I would start with. But it sounds like you're doing great.
It's just, I'm so excited to learn more. So it's really just piqued my interest, and I'm super cautious about not overdoing it.
Perfect.
So thank you for that.
Yeah, beautiful.
Anne, did you have a question?
Yeah, I was wondering, does gemmotherapy work if you don't fully understand it?
Yes, absolutely. So, you know, if we think about what gemmotherapy is, it's just like eating. I mean, drinking. We're taking nutrition in. We're taking in the vitality and nutrients that that particular tree has, right? So, for example, the plant rose hips has a lot of vitamin C, and you know, so we're taking in the vitality and nutrient content of that tree. And so there's no real need to fully understand it or buy into it. It's just a way to nourish ourselves. Yeah.
Thank you.
And you could use the monthly support group to report back to how it's going for you, so that and they get feedback from the group of, oh, you look more calm, or you look more nervous, or something like that. But it helps to check in with somebody. And I use my journal. I'm like journaling all the time. I took this, I noticed that.
Yeah. If you're
And
going to
then,
start, if you're going to
Julie,
start
you
playing.
had a question? Sorry.
Oh, go ahead. It's fine.
Did you want to finish your sentence, Megan?
I was just going to say, if you're going to start playing with gemmotherapy extracts, do chart and 2 things to watch that can sort of get off if you're a little bit overdoing it. One would be sleep, and the other one would be urination. If you're pushing your kidneys too hard and you're urinating a lot, or if you notice that your sleep is disturbed, then maybe you're moving a little too quickly.
Here's a question that just came up. How would somebody start with gemmotherapy? The chat thread.
Okay. Yeah, I think that if you're brand new to gemmotherapy and this is something that you're interested in, I think that probably contacting somebody who's more experienced in gemmotherapy. So it sounds like there's a support group that you could go to with questions. Is that right, Dr. Vrchota? That you?
Yes, but you had said that you're available to consult with people, so your website has been posted. Maybe
Yep,
you want to say what your
Isabel.
website is if you wanted to contact you, and Isabel has a website, and both would be great choices to start
Yep.
the practice.
So my last name is Lemp, L-E-M-P, and my website is aculemp.com, ACULEMP.com. And I'm happy to email back and forth to answer any questions that you might have or to meet privately. Yeah, thanks, Isabel. Or to meet privately to consult if that's something that you need to do.
I think we have a question up about our monthly support groups. We meet the second Tuesday of each month at 6:30. It is by Zoom. If you're signed up with MLA, you would get a Zoom invitation to it. It's usually a group of us. I usually facilitate it, and we share our experiences and answer questions for people that might be new to Lyme disease also. But between all of us, we have a lot of good knowledge to share. And it's really a wonderful support group. So feel welcome to come and attend. Thank you.
Great,
Yeah.
thanks, Dale. There's another question from Tiffany that says, I use a lot of fig and rosemary gemmotherapy. Is there something specific about those two remedies? I'm
I missed-
assuming that you about
I
the
missed
Lyme.
part of that. Can you reread that? Fig and rosemary? I'm sorry, I missed part of that.
She says, I use a lot of fig and rosemary gemmotherapy.
Mm.
Is there something specific about those two plants? And I think she means that could help her
I
resolve
don't
Lyme.
actually use them.
I-
I don't
I-
really use them. They're just the ones I see a lot in gemmotherapy brands.
Yeah. Isabel, do you want to jump in?
Sure. Well, fig is something, especially if in microdoses, but also could be full dose. I think in terms of somebody having diarrhea or kind of an anxious stomach, anyone who has, high anxiety tied to acid reflux, fig is really brilliant in that way to kind of calm the nervous system down, therefore calming down the digestive system or the stomach in particular that gets activated. You might want to say a little bit more about rosemary. I haven't actually prescribed rosemary to anybody, but I know that it does have an affinity to the liver. I've worked more with fig and have found some really beautiful results with it.
Well, in classes with Lauren, she said rosemary was helpful in people with COVID,
Mhm.
pneumonia, that its antiviral possibilities were huge. And from the research in the Lyme times, that the Borrelia that cause chronic Lyme disease have a lot of the same plasmids, which are circular DNA on the outside cell membrane that makes it very similar to viruses. That's why long COVID and long Lyme are being recognized as chronic disabling conditions now by the CDC. And we're finally going to move forward with some meaningful research.
Yeah, I think all of that is the amount that we understand about the plants and other forms of medicine is expanding at all times, and I'm so grateful for that. I think that if you are using rosemary and you aren't doing a lot of other self-cultivating modalities, or you haven't done a nervous system extract yet, you probably want to maybe back off and first go back to a nervous system extract so that you're not pushing the body a little faster than it can heal.
And do you think we should do a nervous system extract for 3 days, 3 weeks, or like how long? Because like assuming somebody's really sick from COVID and wanting to like breathe, how long do you have to be with the nervous system extract first before you would perhaps add antimicrobial gemmo?
That's a little different for everybody because everybody's nervous system takes a different amount of time to get regulated or begin that process of receiving cues of regulation. And so that would really be something that would be on a case-by-case basis.
Great, thank you. Other questions? When you unmute yourself, I can tell you want to talk. So
I would just add with fig that it's very safe for babies as well. I think the youngest baby that I had an experience with fig was maybe 2 weeks old, and actually took it with walnut to help regulate the digestive system and the elimination. And babies really love gemmos.
Yeah, they
There
do.
are some that you wouldn't give to babies, but those two in particular are very safe for babies.
Yeah.
those are great.
Also, fig, one question you can ask yourself that might point to fig and help you if you're looking to choose is, am I having trouble digesting something? Is there something that's hard to stomach that's happening? And you're actually feeling it in the gut? Great time to choose fig.
Great. Looks like Dawn, you might have a question.
No, mostly I just want to say this is extremely helpful,
Hmm.
extremely helpful information. My work is with extreme trauma and torture survivors and people with dissociative abilities, and they're coming in and out of protective stances based on the environment is radical all the time. And so when you talk about this, I just think about the invitation, even in their DNA with their gene expression, to have resiliency measures begin to be expressed as possibility. This is beautiful. I like to think of myself as I love research and well-versed, and I know so little about this. So, and I almost didn't come today because of my schedule, and I just felt this prompting, and this is invaluable, invaluable.
Great. So thanks, Dawn. And anyone else that's interested in learning more, Lauren has classes for not very much money. I can't remember, Isabel, maybe you can remember, but not very much money to be a member for the year. Then you have access to this mighty community of practitioners that you can ask questions. You have access to the materia medica. Maegan and Lauren have made little 8 to 12 minute recordings that you can listen to and learn about these. I've been doing it for 3 years, and I'm learning more every single day. And it's so, you do not have to be a medical person to join that, the classes with Lauren. $120 annual fee. So I don't know, that seems reasonable to me. And there was another question that came up. How would gemmotherapy support the body with degenerative disc issues or arthritis?
Yeah. So it doesn't change at the beginning. Still, we would need to find a nervous system extract for you at the beginning to help to find some regulation and begin the good communication from the mind and body, help to settle. And then from there are certainly extracts that are rejuvenative and focus on the skeletal system and the strength of that, repair and rejuvenation of that. So once you made it through choosing a nervous system extract and choosing an elimination extract, then there are extracts. Mountain pine is a beautiful extract. Redwood's a beautiful extract. There are several that I don't really want to get into too many details because I don't want to prescribe anything in this format, but there's certainly a lot of potential there.
And I've done that. I've prescribed that before the neurologic and the drainage, and it didn't go well. I got kidney stones. So pushing too hard.
Pushing too hard. Yeah. It's tempting.
Yeah.
I have a question about Is there any gemmotherapy good for detox? I think that's a huge issue for most of us.
Yeah. So because gemmotherapy extracts were originally called drainage extracts, most of them are quite good at encouraging detox. We would look at what else was specific to your system that needed to be addressed, how your nervous system was doing, how your gut was doing, how your fluids were moving, and choose specifically based on your whole picture. But almost all of the gemmotherapy extracts will support gentle drainage and detox.
Thank you.
Yeah.
One I'd like to mention is blueberry, which
Mm.
is not the American blueberry. Bilberry is what we call it, and that improves microvascular circulation.
Yep.
So that's one thing that allowed me to see without glasses after needing glasses for far vision since I was 16 and for reading since I was 44. When I started taking that, I didn't need glasses anymore, even for fine print. And so, of course, I thought if a little is good, a lot is better. And then, no, getting up to pee every half hour at night is not good. So really 2 drops a day is all it takes for me. And it's not the first thing, as Maegan said, it's not the first thing, but it might be the second or third thing that you have.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't you think, Isabel and Maegan, that blueberry is kind of many people might benefit from it?
You know, I have that in if I ever start getting a migraine, I have blueberry and blackcurrant and, well, actually, no, not blackcurrant. I think it's common alder and dog rose together because they do have that affinity to the eyes, like you said. And bingo, the migraine just goes quickly and done.
Yes.
So gemmos are very effective. And what's beautiful too is that some of them will have different types of personalities in different situations. So walnut can regulate the nervous system, but that it can also help with elimination. That's another elimination extract. So it has different roles depending on how many drops you take.
Yeah.
So that's the interesting part too about gemmos.
Yep. And Lauren, if
Right.
anybody is interested in learning a little bit more, you don't have to take a deep dive, but Lauren does have several books. She's got a great starter book called Gemmotherapy for Everyone, where you can look up some of the basic extracts and remind yourself what they do and how they're applicable. So if you visit laurenhule.com, which I think is in the chat now, I think it was put in there earlier, you can purchase extracts, you can purchase books, and you can, there's a link to the Mighty Networks, which is the Gemmo online community, if that's something that calls out to you.
Great. We're getting near the end of the time. Anybody else have a question that you want to get answered before we close?
Yeah, there's another question in the chat asking about how gemmotherapy could help closed head injuries such as occipital neuralgia.
Yeah, I mean, occipital neuralgia is something that you would need to meet with a gemmotherapist about. I don't think it's a good idea in that particular case to really experiment too much. You could take a nervous system extract at 1 drop, and you could probably take an elimination extract at a low dose, but beyond that, with neuralgias, you want to work with somebody who's more experienced. There's a lot of potential there.
Well, then I think we'll close. I want to thank Maegan and Isabel for being here and presenting these new points of view for us. Of course, we'd all like a cookbook on how to get well soon, but we're on our own journey, and we're exactly where we're supposed to be. And everyone that's here today is going to take away something that's going to be helpful for them. And investigate whatever they need to investigate to learn the next right step in their life. So
Mhm.
thanks, Megan.
Yeah,
being
thank
here.
you all. It was a real privilege to be with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Megan.
Can you tell me how to get a copy of this so I could forward this meeting to other people in the Lyme community or other people with health and wellness issues so that they can get some options?
So it might
Just-
take a week or two, but it will be on the past events. I think it's on the past events tab on the MLA website, which is mnlyme.org. And I think once you go under past events and then scroll down, there's all the past speakers that we've had and it'll be in there. But it does take a few days to get it uploaded.
No problem. Thank you.
Yep.
I believe last week's is there currently, so it's,
Oh.
it may be quicker this week. You never know.
And is the first one up yet, Anna?
There's 2 up.
Yeah.
There's 2. Great, thank you.
We
so
have a better system now, I think.
Good, because I've been getting a lot of questions about when they're gonna be up. So that's helpful. Thank you.
All right, do people want to turn on their videos and audios and say goodbye?
Sure, thank you, bye.
Thank you, ladies. It's been a pleasure.
Bye, have a good day.
Thanks.
Thank you so
Bye-bye.
much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Bye-bye.